Yeah, MLB Data Warehouse. Where the spreadsheets flow and the takes get spicy. John, Tim, Doc, let's go. Welcome to the warehouse. Stats stacked to the ceilings. Exit below's flying. Launch angles got a feeling. Tim in the corner with the prospect report. Reading fan graphs, blurbs like it's soft core sport. Junior and double A, Tim's losing.
I'm living like I would ideally like to live right now. I took the first week off. I took Thursday, Friday off of work and this whole week, right? I used the extra vacation time I earned by being a faithful little number cruncher for 10 years. In fact, I'm not even exactly a number cruncher in real life. I kind of wish I was. I like crunching numbers. I don't like some of the other more important stuff that I have to do. None of it's important, though. Neither is baseball, I guess. Don't really want to get into the perspective game right now because it's the first week of baseball season. We don't want to think about how it's all meaningless in the end. Shout out to Ecclesiastes. But yeah, so the craziness, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, into the weekend, just absolute insanity of getting everything rolling, getting everything back up and going has settled down. I think we're mostly in a good place. Still, DFS optimizer for the pro subs is still kind of a bum, but kicking that can down the road for at least an hour here as I do open up this bi-weekly, maybe podcast. So right now I'm just like, this is the perfect week for me because I have all this time I can dedicate to baseball and it's not all catching up. Like I'm mostly up to speed and now I can really just like lean into it, get things running, try to make it as easy on myself for the rest of the season to be able to do all of this. Cause I'm trying to do like 2 pretty much full-time jobs. Neither of this is quite full-time, but I'm definitely over like the 40-hour a week thing between both, like probably well over. It's funny, I'm talking to a bunch of dudes here, right? So you know how it goes with hobbies and when you're married, especially with kids, like you can't get too into your hobbies because you can't start taking away family time to your hobbies and stuff. You know, that it's not a good look. It's not good for you either, to be honest. But when you start, so for years, I've always played fantasy baseball stuff, but it was always like, I got to kind of not do this on the family time. But now it's like, I've got money coming in, right? And my wife kind of sees it. It all comes right into our bank account. So she monitors that. She's more money conscious than me. And she doesn't work. So it's all on me to make it all. And she sees it kind of rolling in. And every time this year, we get growth every year. And right now, like March, April are like these months where it's like, like kind of a much larger percent of the money comes in these months. Lots of people sign up and they do the yearly thing. So especially this year with pro, so like a lot of the dough has been coming in, and so I feel like I've bought myself some like extra time. So like maybe work a handful of extra hours at night or something per week, not every night, but just to get things going. So that's pretty sweet, right? I've kind of solved the thing where I've solved the thing where every man has this trouble. Like we want to spend a bunch of time on sports or whatever your hobby is, but we have to like rein it in. But then, you can push a little bit further when you're making, more than a little bit of cash from it. So that's cool. It will definitely be tough for me to do all this as I get back to my normal job, but it'll be easy this week. And we're going to establish this. So I had this idea like a while ago that through the season, I will do 2 podcasts a week. Hopefully this will be hopefully we'll be able to do 2 times a week. Again, it's always going to be like my most important things every day are projections, getting those out for people. Those are the people that use them all day. Like that's the first thing I do in the morning is make sure the projections are out. Next thing is like get my real job critical stuff done. Next thing is daily notes. Next thing is DFS, is like I don't want to call it DFS because there's more to it in those slate previews, but like the slate preview. Next thing after that is like I want to play DFS. I want to do lineups and stuff like that. So the podcast is, and then that's only thinking about my 2 jobs, right? Baseball stuff and my real job. And then I have meetings, of course, I got an hour or 2 of meetings every day. So the podcast is like back burner, like 6th or 7th or 8th on the priority list. So I don't know if I'll for sure be able to pull this off. I'm going to try harder than I ever have before, though. And this is my idea. This podcast you see is called Talkin Teams National League. My idea was to go team by team once a week, going through every team just to hit the highlights, see what's going on. And so every week I will be covering every team. We'll have a look. It might be a quick look. Actually, my first thought, now it just occurred to me, it just remembered right now that my initial plan was to pick one division a week and go really deep into it for each team. So maybe that's better. We'll see. Maybe I'll adjust to that because, but at that point, then I would hit the NL East today, and then it would be like 6 weeks until I get back to them. And by that time, it's mid-May, early May. So that's probably a little bit too infrequent. Once a week is probably, maybe that might even be a little bit too much. I don't know. So maybe the sweet spot, we'll find the sweet spot. Maybe it'll be a National League this week, American League the next, National League this week, American League the next. But let's get going so I can get back to work on some stuff. I want to go for a run. I mean, I'm doing everything. I'm just living my dream life this week, right? So my perfect life, I've always thought, is like baseball analytics stuff, DFS, playing that, writing, reading, running. Those are kind of the 3 things I've liked to do the most. Watching sports, watching sports is almost fourth. Like I'll probably watch the Pirate game tonight over reading a book or something like that, just because it's early on. But yeah, like my perfect day is like writing specifically about sports, running and reading, and probably some gambling as well. So American League, National League East. We always start with the East because the newspapers back in the day, right? Every morning you'd get up and get the newspaper and you would see the standings. I would always go look at the MLB standings, and the first division on there was always the NL East, and that's how it still goes. So we're going to look at the Braves, except we're going to, hopefully we got the wrong dashboard up here. You can watch this. It will not be very great to watch because these dashboards are not built for I am trying to pull up the right dashboard as I talk. These dashboards, you can see them a little bit, but unless you really want to be like sitting at your computer squinting to see the numbers, you can just probably not watch. But I want to see Chrome tab, this one. Here we go, Atlanta. So I'll just do my best to talk. Man, there's a little 15 teams to go, so we got to really get going. So the Braves, again, we're 3 games into the season at this point, and that means there's not going to be a ton to talk about. Lineups, I wanted to also have some lineup stuff up as well. So the Braves have obviously had the rough spring in terms of pitcher health, right? Swellenbach's gone, Strider's hurt. What's the other guy's name? The guy I always forget. Waldrip is hurt, and they have come in with a pretty brutal start. So they still have Chris Sale. He's still holding on there, so that's good. But so far the starters have been Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez, and Grant Holmes. So Ronaldo Lopez looked pretty terrible, 14% K rate, 9% walk rate in that. It's like Ronaldo and Grant Holmes, I mean, they're going to be relied on a lot. They just sent Didier Fuentes down. So what do you do for fantasy leagues and stuff and DFS? What are these guys? What do we do with them? Like Fuentes should be back up. He's going to go to AAA, try to get stretched out as a starter, but they're going to need all kinds of help here. And then it's like Bryce Elder's in here. Schwellenbach's not coming back anytime soon. Strider will probably be a couple weeks at best. So they're going to need Fuentes. He's got to go to AAA and learn some new pitches, though. He's way too fastball heavy. But Sale looked good in his first start. 10.2% swing and strike rate. I'm really not going to take time to talk about like pitcher stats here, and especially hitter stats after one game. We're just kind of look at some lineup trends and who's pitching and stuff, and just like things that kind of stand out to me. So one guy that does stand out on the Braves, we go back to the hitter data. It's going to be on the screen again. You can like kind of squint your eyes. I'll try to zoom in a little bit for you. So this is the main MLB dashboard. 2026 is rolling. Probably worth the money itself, just these dashboards I have for paid subscribers. MLBDataWarehouse.com, you know where to go. Drake Baldwin, right? He has hit second in all 3 of their games. They have faced a lefty and 2 righties, so it's been Acuna, Baldwin, and Albies hit third the first game against the lefty. So against the lefty, they went Acuna, Baldwin, Albies, Olsen, Riley, Eli White, Dubon, Heim, Harris. So Baldwin in there at DH in that first game while Heim played catcher. And that seems like a reasonable thing for them to be doing, the Braves, as Heim's a decent hitter against lefties. He's terrible against righties. So if they're going to give Baldwin days off, it makes sense to get Heim in there as a catcher against a left-handed starting pitcher. Maybe it was just the opening day that, obviously Baldwin didn't need rest and he was going to be in the opening day lineup, and they DH'd him. So it's a good sign. He's definitely their best option when he's not catching. He is certainly their best available hitter to DH. I have my doubts he's going to be a William Contreras guy, DH in 40 times or whatever it would take to get to like 155 games, but he's going to DH plenty, and you see that right out of the chute. So that's really good news for Baldwin. It was one reason, we were kind of on that here. That was one of the reasons I was ranking him higher and hyping him up a little bit and drafted him a few times, because I really did think Ozuna was gone. They didn't bring anybody else in great to play DH. Maybe they had before the Jurickson Profar business, but now he's gone. It's just a clear path to 130 games for Baldwin. So you got yourself probably a pretty studly player there, Baldwin, 2 homers out of the gate. 15% K rate early on. That's kind of what we've come to expect from him. Great contact hitter with some power. Questionable, is he actually going to be a 25 homer guy? Didn't lift the ball much last year, but great start for him. Michael Harris hitting as high as 7th. He's hit 9th, 7th, and 7th, so he'll hit 7th against righties for the time being. That's a problem for him, but the guy can play. Off to a good start with a homer and a 364 batting average. Good contact hitter, a little bit too aggressive, hasn't walked yet. But yeah, 2020 guy, that's exactly what he did last year. So that's the Braves kind of offense there. I'm not seeing a ton else to really talk about. Ronaldo Lopez, maybe it would be worth looking at just his velo, right? He was kind of a fringy guy for us in draft season, but he the velo was toast in spring. 94.4 on that fastball in his first start. So I believe it wasn't a good result in fastball, only 4.9% swing strike rate, but yeah, that came up quite a bit from what it was in spring, so I guess that's a good sign. I wouldn't pick him up necessarily, but if you're just a deeper league, keep an eye on him. That's somebody to maybe, monitor per se. Let's go to the Phillies, still dealing without Zach Wheeler. So far for them, it's been Luzardo, who had a bad one, Aaron Nola, Christopher Sanchez. Aaron Nola looked really good, 32% K rate in that first start. 15.4% swing and strike rate. His stuff plus was one of the highest. It's the MLB pitch profiler model that I'm using. He had a 107 stuff plus. It's one of the best. I don't think there's any reason to really look at stuff plus for veteran pitchers. The only time I'm really thinking is useful is with guys that are just debuting and we're trying to figure out what they'll be. But we kind of know who Aaron Nola is. He's not going to reinvent himself. But yeah, good curveball. He's healthy. He looked good in the WBC and a good first start there. So if you took the value on him, you're probably feeling okay about it. Luzardo, what are you going to do? I mean, the bad starts happen. He still had a nice 15.2% swinging strike rate in that start. It was just wild, 40% ball rate. Still only had, looks like, 1 walk. It was a 28% K rate, a 4% walk rate in that one start, a 2.44 JA ERA. So the underlying stuff was fine, just a little bit wild with the ball rate. And Luzardo is that guy. If you took him thinking you'll never get bad outings, that was foolish. What you can do with Luzardo is what I've said a lot. He's one of these guys that fits this category of, if he's really going to suck this month or for the next, if it's in mid-April and he's just been getting tanked and looking bad, you immediately go try to trade for that dude for sure, because he's going to have some excellent big months and the end result will probably be pretty good. Strikeouts, certainly. The lineup for the Phillies has gone Turner, Schwarber, Harper all 3 times. Bohm has hit cleanup. Yep, it's been Bohm, Stott, Adolis, 4, 5, 6. Not quite. Bohm hit 4th. Adolis hit 5th against the lefty Gore. So Stott was down against the lefty. We'll see that plenty. Not every time, I don't think. It looks like Edmundo Sosa came in for him. Justin Crawford, one of the interesting fantasy guys for steal purposes. He started every game so far, all 3, hitting 9th. 10 plate appearances. He's 24% owned on CBS. So definitely someone to look at if you're looking for steals. Don't expect homers. Maybe 10, but he's not a huge power guy at this point. This is Carl Crawford's son. So far, 10 plate appearances, 3 strikeouts. We're not really going to get into hitter stats like we said, but 60% contact rate, a 50% swing rate. So whiffing a little bit, but whatever. It could be a tough adjustment for him, as it is with anybody else. But he should be able to figure out at least a decent contact rate. Again, maybe the power doesn't show up at all this year. Maybe he can't get on base quite enough to steal those bases, but he's walked, a couple times so far. Looks like twice in 10 plate appearances. Not to be once, but he's got a 400 batting OBP. But here I am talking about hitter stats. But Justin Crawford is someone to watch. He's been in the lineup all 3 times. That's kind of the most important thing. Let's go to the Mets. I just watched 3 parts of 3 Mets games. I didn't sit down and watch every pitch of them because my kids are around. It was the weekend and they weren't night games, so I wasn't able to sit there and really watch. But it was Freddie Peralta on opening day, had a bunch of strikeouts, 33% K rate, no walks. Good start for him, even after giving up a couple homers to Brandon Lau. So the ERA, the earned run result wasn't good, but overall he looked fine. Nolan McLean, he started with a couple walks, and I think that was it for him. He walked the first 2 yesterday, but comes in with a 14.3% swinging strike rate, 38% ball rate. So he's going to be wild, right? McLean, that's the thing to know about him. I don't know the strikeout rate. People think it can be high. Some people don't. I don't think it's going to go and end up being low. I think he'll be comfortably over 24%, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not much above that. I guess I said comfortably. Take back the word comfortably. I'll say he'll be comfortably above a league average strikeout rate because this stuff is really, really good. I don't have the stuff plus numbers yet because that start was just yesterday, but 14.3% swinging strike rate. So here's the issue. He threw 29% sinkers at only an 8% swinging strike rate. So you're just not going to get a lot of whiffs with the sinker, but you'll get plenty of ground balls, soft contact, which you did yesterday. And then a 97-mile-an-hour four-seamer, a really good sweeper, curveball changeup behind it. He threw 6 different pitches yesterday. So I might have been too low on McLean, but we'll see. The command wasn't good yesterday, and maybe that'll be something he has to battle with. But yeah, you got to be feeling fine about him. Maybe not the greatest whip. That's kind of the reason that's the one thing I would say against him. I don't think he's going to be a great whip pitcher because of all those sinkers, all that contact allowed. Not all that contact allowed, but a lot of contact allowed on that sinker. A lot of those ground balls can sneak through for hits, and then I think the walk rate is going to be not the best. The Mets lineup, Bo Bichette has 1 hit over the weekend in 3 games, 15 plate appearances. He struck out 53% of the time. What's that? 8 strikeouts and 15 PAs. So slow start. What are you going to do with Bo Bichette? He also made a throwing error at third. So not a very comfortable, not a happy opening series for Bichette, but you're not moving anything. No fantasy decisions are being made after this. Carson Bench started all 3 games, made 12 plate appearances, had 1 hit, 1 for 10. It was a home run. He stole a base as well. That was all on opening day. A 65% contact rate so far, 42% K rate, 17% walk rate. The Pirates have a good pitching staff, of course, but yeah, you just got to watch these with Benj and with these young guys. You really got to just watch that contact rate, watch the ground ball rate and stuff. Just kind of, it seems to me like the 2 toughest things that hitters have when they first debut is getting balls in play, limiting strikeouts, and then hitting balls in the air on the line or whatever. So good and bad signs for Benj so far. As far as the lineups went for the Mets, against Skeens, it was Lindor, Soto, Bichette, Polanco, Robert, Beatty, Semi, and Benj Alvarez. It looks pretty much the same in game 2. And yeah, with the catcher swapped out in game 3, it was the same lineup. It looks, yes, exactly the same. So Lindor, Soto, Bichette, Polanco, Robert, Beatty, Semi, and Benj, and then the catcher. Alvarez hit 9th. You don't love that if you are in a deeper league and you had to use him at catcher. You don't want your power catcher hitting 9th, but that's where he'll go for now. It's hard to say that there's a great case to be made for him going over any of those other guys. It's a really good lineup. But if he starts hitting homers and looking good, then yeah, he can slip up there into the 5 or 6 hole, I think. So good news for Brett Beatty, I'd say. The Pirates didn't start a lefty, so we didn't get that look at that. It was all righties. So maybe we won't get Beatty. Maybe we'll get Vientos in there in some fashion against a lefty. That's probably my best bet. But they like Beatty hitting 6th. He had a couple big hits for them. He hit, a little 308 batting average out of the chute. Struck out a lot, 39% K rate so far. But all in all, you like seeing him start the first 3 games. And the Mets seem like a really, really good lineup, and it looks like we have an idea of what they want to do with that lineup. How about the Marlins? We saw Sandy Alcantara, we saw Max Meyer, and we saw Yuri Perez. Sandy was good. Yuri was good, except a couple home runs allowed. And Max Meyer was terrible. And these are all the starts against this Rockies team. So the Rockies thing is interesting because you want to target them, obviously, but maybe it is. And I think this is probably like statistically and like geographically or like physics, scientifically sound that like this road Rockies extra advantage. It's a bad lineup. It's probably a little bit better than last year, excuse me. But they're probably at their worst after they go to Coors once or twice, and then they have to come down and the elevation change and stuff. So they've been in Florida I guess they've been in Arizona all spring. So they haven't gone to the high elevation. So they go right to Florida for this opening series. And maybe you could just say that it wasn't like an actual true road Rockies matchup for any three of these guys. Sandy only got a handful of strikeouts in 7 innings, 20% K rate, 15% swinging strike rate, though. All three starters had huge swinging strike rates, 18% for Perez, 16% for Meyer, 15% for Sandy. So, yeah, the Rockies were giving up some whiffs, but not a good result for Meyer. He gave up didn't give up any homers, but he got hit around. I don't have the actual box score line on it, but the underlying stuff for Meyer looked really good. 16% swinging strike rate, 29.6% ball rate, and a low ground ball rate. So we didn't love that, but I don't know. It probably a little bit better for Meyer than people will think after he gave up runs to the Rockies. So maybe there's something there. Keep an eye on Max Meyer. He is certainly going to be in that rotation for the time being. Miami's lineup, this is kind of an interesting thing to see. It was two lefties and a righty. Against the lefty, they've gone Austin Slater leading off, Augustine Ramirez, Jacob Marcy, is his name Jacob or Jacob? Otto Lopez, Connor Norby, Heriberto Hernandez, Xavier Edwards. That's been their top 7 against lefties each time. Owen Casey hit 8th against the first lefty opening day, so they wanted to get him in there. I don't know. You probably just you want to play your best 9 players on opening day just to be give them it would be a little bit discouraging to tell a young guy hey, you're our guy. We want to play you a lot, but maybe sometimes not against lefties. And so when it's opening day, you probably just let them get in there. But Casey hit 8th against the first lefty, and then he comes in against the righty, hits 6th. Still behind Liam Hicks, Otto Lopez, which is a little bit questionable maybe. Gets benched against lefty Jose Quintana on Sunday. Comes in, I believe, and hits a walk-off home run as a pinch hitter, so that'll get him some more looks. He's going to be in there in a power spot of the lineup. I imagine he's up to 4th or 5th before long against right-handed pitchers. The question is, he's not going to hit lefties, I really don't think. And the K rate will be something to monitor. 20% K rate so far. It's all of 6 plate appearances and 82% contact rate, whatever. You can't look at any kind of numbers 10 plate appearances. But yeah, that's the plan with Casey, starting against righties, give him some looks against lefties. But again, this is a guy that didn't hit lefties in the minors either. So, it was a little weird to see Xavier Edwards hitting at the bottom third of the lineup against lefties. Maybe that's not weird. Maybe I'm just ignorant. He hit 7th against the lefties. So, an uncommon start for the Marlins facing 2 of 3 lefties. It'll usually be reverse, right? On average, you face a righty 2/3 of the time. So again, against lefties, it was Marcy, Edwards, Ramirez, and then a little bit of a mixture after that. But those are their top 3. That leaves us with the Nationals, who are looking terrible. Did they win a game against the Cubs? They won on Sunday. So, they won 2 games there. They knock off the Cubs twice. They beat them 6-3 yesterday. They beat them 10-4 on opening day, as Matt Boyd pitched well, but just kind of got bombed a couple of times, and then they lost big. So 10-2 on Saturday. James Wood just 1 hit, but it was a homer, has struck out in 7 of his 14 plate appearances. That's the highs and lows. He's another guy that potentially try to buy low on if he's really struggling out of the gate, because he's going to have some big games. He's going to have a good season, at least in power and steals. We're pretty sure about that. Batting average might end up being not great, but I mean, sky's the limit with that guy. And if you can buy low at any point, you probably want to do that. Let's look at these lineups for Washington because we had some interest in Nasim Nunez. We'll try to keep this podcast to just like the actual standard league-ish fantasy actionable tidbits. Nasim Nunez hit 7th against the lefty opening day. He hit 7th against a righty in the second game, and then he hit 7th against another lefty yesterday, Shota Amanaga. So the Nationals seem pretty set with James Wood leading off. And then, there's not a lot of similarities between the lefties and the righties. So let's just look at their last 2 lineups. Against the righty, it was Wood, Drew Millis, Luis Garcia, Dalen Lyle, Brady House, Jorbit Vivas, Nasim Nunez, Jose Tena, and Jacob Young. Really bad lineup. I don't know. You want Wood, you want Lyle for fantasy. At least maybe we don't want Lyle all year. I don't know. We'll see. He's not proven yet, but you want him for now. Other than that, though, for like a 12-team league, I don't really see anybody else here unless you're going to take some shots on Nunez, who can steal a bunch of bases, but not much of a hitter. You're really just hoping for steals. And if he's not going to hit leadoff, like he was hitting leadoff all spring, so that was just fake, I guess. Or maybe he just didn't pass the test or something like that. So not good news for Nunez. And that's kind of the better part of the Nationals team this year, isn't it? Like the offense is bad, but it's probably better than this pitching staff. They threw out Miles Michaelis, Jake Irvin, and Cade Cavalli. Miles Michaelis had just a 9.3% swing strike rate. Jake Irvin did pretty decent, but he's Jake Irvin. He's not going to be good. Cade Cavalli looked some good and some bad. It wasn't a great result. Too many walks, but had some strikeouts, got some whiffs. Strike that. He had an 8% swing strike rate. We covered him in the daily notes. So Cade Cavalli is probably the only one to even consider. And if you're in like a 10 or 12 team league, you probably don't need to worry about it. There's not going to be wins. And he's not definitely good. He might be decent. I don't know, but just really up in the air with them. Let's just flip right to the Cubs, who just played the Nationals, as we talked about. Not a ton of like question marks with the Cubs. If I wasn't doing this podcast by myself, this would take forever to do 15 teams. You know, if we had to keep going back and forth, it'd be better quality, but it would just take so long. So the Cubs have they faced 3 righties. It was Bush, Bregman, Happ, PCA, Horner, Swanson. It was a little bit different lineups wise. It was Bush, Bregman, Happ, PCA, Horner. That was the 1 through 5 every time. They hit Dansby Swanson 8th twice, and they hit Dansby Swanson 6th once. Moises Ballesteros was in there all 3 times against a right-handed pitcher, so that's a good sign for him. Conforto had to make a start. Matt Shaw made 2 starts. So the top 6 or so are set. The catchers can alternate. Ballesteros, I'm not sure. On the lineup tracker, I don't have what positions they actually played, which is probably a missed opportunity, but good sign for Ballesteros to be in there all 3 times. Didn't do anything with it yet, but we're looking more at playing time. So Bregman's your 2, Bush is your 1 against the righties for sure. I imagine Bregman's just going to be the number 2. We'll see what they do against a lefty when they face it, because we have questions about if Michael Bush will even start. You know, he's not going to hit leadoff. Will he even start against a lefty? And we'll see that before long. Shota Amanaga, it was a kind of a bad outing for him in the box score, but a good swinging strike rate start, 21% swinging strike rate. That is elite. And the fastball came in. You know, we were looking at that velo all spring, 92.1, so that's still up. That wasn't the pitch that was getting strikeouts. He only had a 3.2% swinging strike rate with it, but the splitter and sweeper were nasty. So he ended up with 7 strikeouts, but gave up a home run, and wasn't a good result. But you got to keep rolling with Amanaga for sure. Speaking of like bad pitching, the Brewers, Chad Patrick and Brandon Sproat were the 2 and 3. We talked about Mizurowski. You probably saw the headlines there. Huge game for him against the White Sox. Bullied them around. But then the White Sox showed what they can do against not great pitching. Sproat and Patrick both struggled. Patrick wasn't horrible, a 3.21 JA ERA in that start. Not bad. Didn't, 1 walk, a handful, 4 or 5 strikeouts there. It was just only 74 pitches, so he was a little bit limited there. We'll see what they do from there with him. And pitch count wise, they're going to have to get length out of these guys. So again, I'm not like panicking or reacting to any of these guys, but I didn't know much about. I didn't know where I stood on Sproat and Patrick, and the first starts don't really help. Sproat didn't look good at all. 6.13 ERA, 10.5% swinging strike rate, a 42% ball rate, and he gave up a grand slam. And I think he gave up multiple home runs. It was a really, really terrible start for Sproat, so you got to be a little bit hesitant on using him moving forward. Christian Yelich on the hitting side got a day off against a lefty, so that's interesting. Immediate day off, just the third game, the fourth day of the season. They had an off day after opening day. I don't know, probably just easing him in the things. I wouldn't worry about that. He's still a really good hitter against lefties. So against the lefty yesterday, Anthony K, Terang, Contreras, Rengifo were the top three. Sanchez, Frelick, Ortiz, Jefferson Cuero, who got the call up, Brandon Lockridge, and Blake Perkins. So Cuero played catcher, William Contreras to DH, Yelich out of the lineup. Again, that's not going to be a regular thing, but they, just an older guy with health issues. That was kind of the reason we kind of didn't want him too much in drafts, because it just doesn't seem healthy, and he didn't hit very well last year. But he came in and hit a pinch hit 3-run homer yesterday. Against the righties, it was the opening day lineup. I think those were probably the best to look at, and this just kind of gives you what that team likes the most against that handed pitcher. It was Terang, Contreras, Yelich, Vaughn, Bowers, Frelick, Hamilton, Mitchell, Ortiz. So Vaughn's hurt now, which opens up a path for Bowers to play more. And although strangely he didn't play Sunday, again, that Sunday lineup shows you what, like with Yelich out and with Vaughn out and with Bowers out, it was ugly. I mean, Gary Sanchez hitting fourth, like that would have worked 10 years ago. And Gifo hitting third, he's not very good. It was a gross lineup, and the White Sox pounded the Brewers yesterday. So, potentially a bad team for the Brewers. They seem to never be bad, but why can't, things have to end. Things have to come to an end. And just not a ton of things to like on the fantasy side. In deeper leagues, Hamilton and Mitchell, both very skilled. Mitchell has power and speed. Probably just going to strike out a lot, but, good early sign on that. Only looks like 1 strikeout in 9 plate appearances. But David Hamilton, not much power, probably not much batting average, but a bunch of steals if he can keep playing. And he has made starts in all 3 games to strike that 2 out of 3. Yesterday's lineup was just a super weird one for the Brewers, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Let's go to the Cardinals. They played the Rays to start, and those were some wild games. Let me pull those scores up because it was 11-7 Rays yesterday. On opening day, it was 6-5. Opening day was 9-7 Cardinals. Saturday was 6-5 Cardinals. And then Sunday, like I said, 11-7 Rays. The pitchers for the Cardinals out of the gate were Liberatore looked bad. Dustin May looked awful. And Michael McGreevy looked good, but it's Michael McGreevy. So we don't want him for fantasy. He's just kind of a pitch to contact guy. He's one of those dudes. He can have some decent outings when he's just like when the ball's going at people and when he's spotting command and stuff. But he's not a good stuff pitcher, so the strikeouts aren't going to come. And that's reason enough for me to stay away from him, even in like, if a 15-teamer, you could do something like that. But 12-teamers, that you just want a lot more upside than that. And the whip will never be good for a pitcher that doesn't get strikeouts. JJ Weatherholt is probably the I don't know, who's the Cardinals' best player? Is it? It's not a pitcher, right? It's either Weatherholt or Herrera or Burleson. Herrera has started slow. Burleson had a big homer in extra innings. That was pretty electric. I think it was in extra innings. It was the game the Cardinals opening day they won with a late comeback, and his homer I think put the capper on that. I don't know if it was a walk-off, but excuse me. I'm not watching Cardinals games. I'm sorry. Weatherholt, though, out of the gate, 82% contact rate, 56% swing rate, so very aggressive there. 1 strikeout, 1 walk, 1 homer, 15% barrel rate so far, 15 plate appearances, looking really good, leading off for them. And that's just going to have to continue because even if he's struggling a little bit, I think they just stick with him. He's led off all 3 games. It's been Weatherholt, Herrera, Burleson, Wynn have been the top 4. Mason Wynn, cleanup hitter. How about that? Nolan Gorman has hit 5th twice. Thomas Sajacy hit 5th in the last game against the lefty. So let's just do this for the Cardinals. Against the righty on Saturday, it was Weatherholt, Herrera, Burleson, Wynn, Gorman, Ramon Urias, Nathan Church, Jordan Walker, Victor Scott. Against the lefty on Sunday, JJ Weatherholt, Herrera, Burleson, Wynn, Sajacy, Urias, I think I said that name 2 different ways just in the last 2 sentences. Jordan Walker, Pedro Paz, and Victor Scott. So Victor Scott's hitting 9th playing center field. He'll steal some bases. Jordan Walker, though, we should spend a second on him because out of the gate, 12 plate appearances, a home run, a 400 batting average, an 8% K rate, and a 33% ground ball rate. So he has lifted the ball. He is going to be interesting if he keeps doing that, but we can't trust it in only 12 plate appearances. Pretty much any major leaguer can do any kind of thing in that little of a time. We know Walker can hit the ball hard. We just don't know if he can do it while hitting it in the air. But a good start, getting the ball in the air, not striking out, taking a couple walks. He's got he's got looks like 2 walks and 1 strikeout so far. And the most important number to watch with him as we go is that ground ball rate. Good start for that for Jordan Walker. He doesn't need to pull it because he has so much raw power and bat speed and stuff. That would be a bonus. But really, if he's lifting the ball, we'd be feeling pretty good about that. Okay, so that leaves us to the, I don't know, let's go to the Pirates. I don't even need to look at the dashboard because I watch all the Pirate games because it's that time of year where I watch the Pirate games because they're somewhat, they're in the hunt right now. It was Paul Skeens, what happened to him. What are you going to do about that? It's not even really worth talking about. Sucked, wasn't all his fault. But it's Paul Skeens. How many starts like that in a row would it take before you're benching Paul Skeens, right? Like 5 or 6, and he's the velo's down a little bit, but it's kind of just an early season thing. So I don't know. We'll just, if we have to talk about Skeens in a couple weeks, we will. Carmen Luginski made a start, 85 pitches. He got through, like he hung in there. It wasn't. I'm gonna pull up the box scores for him. So the thing with Luginski, it was surprising to see him be in the rotation. They went for 5 righties. And I guess there's not, Jared Jones is coming back, so that would be the thing, but that's 2 months away. So I thought maybe it would be Hunter Barco, but he's coming out of the bullpen. He's on the club, so if they need a lefty starter, it'll be him. I assume they'll keep him stretched out, but Luginski's a 27-year-old dude. I'm just talking about him because he might be a little bit interesting for streaming. For 85 pitches, like we said, so they used him as a traditional starter. He got 8 strikeouts and no walks against the Mets. That's a really good lineup. Luginski had only a 9.4% swing strike rate, which isn't the most encouraging thing, but he survived. It's always been a thing with him where he gets through the lineup once, great, twice maybe, and then just falls apart. And he didn't quite fall apart yesterday. So something there. Mitch Keller was good, but that's 14% K rate. Like Mitch Keller will just be that. He's the he's almost like the guy you call this kind of thing. Like I was gonna say he's a Merrill Kelly type or something like that. Like not a lot of strikeouts, not a lot of dominance, some bad starts and good, but he'll have some really good ones along the way. So a quality start for Keller, that's probably the best thing about him. Tons of quality starts, throws a lot of pitches. Pirates have no limitations on him at all. And he can have starts like yesterday, 6 scoreless, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, no walks. Bad K for 9, obviously. But the Pirates lineup wise, so they have to figure this thing out with O'Neal Cruz. I guess they have figured it out. But they have Jake Mangum on the team now, a better outfielder. He played center field in the second game. O'Neal Cruz went down against a lefty. So it looks like this for the Pirates against righties. It's been O'Neal Cruz, Brandon Lau, Brian Reynolds, Ryan O'Hearn, the top 4. That's pretty clear to me. I wonder if they just will give up on this O'Neal Cruz leading off thing, but they have been doing it for a couple of years against righties, so I guess that sticks. Jake Mangum played against the lefty. He played 1 against the righties. He had Marcell Ozuna went down against a righty. McLean yesterday. That made some sense. But there's going to be either Mangum or O'Neal Cruz in a normal game has to sit, and it could just be Cruz sitting against most lefties. And you just never know. He's a really frustrating dude to have in fantasy. Against the lefty, it's a bad lineup. They went with the Pirates against the lefty. David Peterson went Triolo, gross, O'Hearn, Reynolds, Ozuna, Gonzalez, Lau, York, Bart, Mangum. Not a good team against lefties. You're going to be streaming in lefties against them all year. Offensively, they didn't do much, and it's still not a great offensive team. But O'Hearn and Lau, the new acquisitions, hit very well. They are both off to a good start. Lau has 3 homers. O'Hearn hit 1 as well. O'Hearn's hitting about, what is this? 1 walk, 14. He's 6 for 13 or something like that, off to a really good start for Ryan O'Hearn. So the Pirates' new acquisitions won them at least 1 game. They probably would have gotten swept without those 2, but not a lot to care about on the fantasy side. If you're in a deep league, 2-catcher league, like Henry Davis is swinging the bat a lot harder. He was in the daily notes this morning as like the second highest bat speed increase so far this year compared to last. And he's got a couple big hits early on. So he's someone, he might be a top 20 catcher this year. That's about as good as I can say, but probably not. Who didn't we get here? We didn't do the Reds yet. Pirates will play the Reds this week. That's going to be a fun one. I'm going to have to go around the blackout, do some Stream East action. Just kidding. It would be like illegal, right? I'm not going to do anything illegal. Rhett Lauder, Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer were the first three. Not ideal for the Reds. Hunter Green is out. And Chase Burns is going to start today, so he's not hurt yet, knock on wood. But, yeah, Rhett Lauder looked okay. Just he's not going to be a strikeout guy. None of these guys are going to be strikeout guys. Like Burns and Green are the strikeout guys. Other than that, it's not a great pitching staff. But Andrew Abbott does Andrew Abbott things. Don't really need to talk about him. 12-teamer, he's probably worthwhile, or if it's a deep 12-teamer or if it's a 14, 15-team league, like you probably need Andrew Abbott. Just continues to generate soft contact. Not sure if he'll do it again this year. And you're always kind of playing with fire with a fly baller in Cincinnati, but he got through the first home start. He'll take on the Pirates again. It's a lefty against the Pirates. I would definitely start him this week. Reds lineup-wise, they went with 2 lefties and a righty. So they took on Connolly early on Sunday, went with Friedel leading off, McLean, Ellie, Sal Stewart, Suarez, Steer, Myers, Stevenson, Noelvi Marte. Against the righty on Saturday, they went Friedel, McLean, Ellie, Stewart, Suarez, Steer. So the top 6 was the same. Against the righty, they started Will Benson, Jose Trevino, the catcher, and Cabrian Hayes at third. So Cabrian Hayes, not an everyday player. He's played 2 of 3 only against the lefties. Noelvi Marte, though, I mean, I think he got pinch hit for in the first game. He started against Crochet, but then he sat against the righty, which you really don't like to see. And he hit 9th hit 8th against the Crochet, and then 9th against Connolly early. So not a lot of confidence shown in Noelvi Marte. You got to keep an eye on that. He might end up being a drop if he's just not going to play. If he hits, he'll play, I guess, but the defense isn't keeping him. It's not maintaining his job. So a little bit worrisome start for Noelvi Marte. Sal Stewart, 66% owned on CBS. You got to make that 100%. If you're in a league without where he's available, that's something you need to go take care of because Sal Stewart looks like a total stud. 3 games in might not maintain, but really good start for Sal Stewart. Walks, no strikeouts, a home run, hitting the ball hard. Everything was looking good. Okay, so that's the Central. Should we talk about the Dodgers? I mean, we're going to, but like the Dodgers, did they lose a game? When will they lose their first game? Let's see. They didn't play yesterday. They beat the Diamondbacks 8-2 on opening day, 5-4 on Friday, and 3-2 on Saturday. And then they were off on Sunday. This weird thing where teams get off days. Edwin Diaz, 2 saves, no problems there. Yamamoto, Glasnow, Sheehan. Sheehan lost velocity on Saturday in the 3rd or 4th inning. It wasn't a great sign. He didn't look great. He had a bunch of strikeouts and a 15.7% swinging strike rate. A little bit wild and just kind of tired out. I don't know. We're a little bit worried about that. Again, the strikeouts were good to see. Struck out the side in the first. The stuff plus was only 98, which is down. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit of the things we talked about in the daily notes. Like, is it just like this kind of springtime, early season dead arm that they don't seem to worry about? That seems alarming to me, but the pitching people talk about it like it's not a big deal. Like that's normal and his arm will just wake up again or something. Again, like let's not call it dead arm if it's just like sleepy arm. If it's going to wake up again, it's not dead. Unless you're Jesus or Lazarus. Praise God. Happy Easter. Dodgers lineups, this was never in question. There's really not much to look at except one guy. We got to talk about Alex Freeland, the second baseman. So they lost Edmund to IL, and I believe Hyesung Kim went to the minors. So Freeland didn't start opening day. It looks like it was Miguel Rojas at second. Freeland played on he only made 1 start. How about that? He only started against the righty. So he's a left-handed bat. So I guess that makes sense. It looks like maybe a little platoon between Miguel Rojas and Alex Freeland. Freeland's a switch hitter, sorry. So I don't know, but he homered. He had a big game on Saturday. You'd think that maybe they would have wanted to give him the nod the home run was on Friday. Maybe they would have rewarded him with a start on Sunday, but just one start so far. But again, like, he hit a home run, and he's a top prospect for them. He's definitely someone that could be in the mix and just become the second baseman, but you probably don't want him now because he looks like he's only going to be starting against righties. But, in a deeper league where that works, or if you just want to bet on a little bit of the upside, like, there you go. So against the righty for the Dodgers, it was Ohtani, Tucker, Betts, Freeman. That's going to be pretty static. And then Smith, Muncy, Teoscar, Paz, and Freeland. Teoscar hitting 6th or 7th so far. Not great, but it's what you expected, right? Against the lefty, it was Ohtani, Tucker, Betts. Will Smith was in there. Then Freeman, Teoscar, Espinal, Paz, Rojas. Espinal getting in there. Maybe he was the second baseman. I'm probably misspeaking a lot. I guess Rojas probably played third while Max Muncy was down against the lefty. But I don't know. What are we doing, Dodgers? Do we need to play Santiago Espinal against a lefty over Alex Freeland? Can't you, what are you going to get rewarded for that? I don't know. Don't you just want to see the kid? So we'll keep an eye on that. That's kind of the one Dodger guy that's not owned currently that could end up being worth it. All the rest of them are pretty much universally owned. Max Muncy is available, but he's not going to play against lefties. He'll probably get hurt at some point, and he's probably not super available. I got him at 43% on the dashboard. However, that could very well be the Athletics guy. I don't know. That freaking 2 Max Muncy thing just drives me nuts. Let's go to the Diamondbacks. Bad pitching. Gallen actually did okay against the Dodgers at the beginning. I think he gave up some runs late, but he looked okay. He looked somewhat sharp. I don't know. It was a 42% strike rate, so I guess he didn't look good. But it was a really tough matchup against the Dodgers. You almost just dismiss these starts against the Dodgers. Eduardo Rodriguez was their third starter. He held his own, 25% K rate. So, it's Gallen, Rodriguez, and Nelson as the top 3 for them. We'll see Brandon Pfaadt probably get jacked up, and I don't know who's the 5th. I don't even know, but we're looking backward, not forward. So the lineups for the Diamondbacks, they faced 3 righties. They went Ketel Marte. This is the most recent lineup. They went Marte, Carroll, Perdomo, Pavin Smith, Nolan Arenado, Alec Thomas, Santana, McCann, Barossa. Pretty bad end of the lineup. Jordan Lawler made 2 starts, got sat for the 3rd game on Saturday, but Marte, Carroll, Perdomo are the top 3. That's pretty clear. Gabriel Moreno has hit 4th in both of his starts, so I guess that's the plan with him. And Arenado has been 5th or 6th, depending on if Pavin Smith's been in there. Carlos Santana is also a first baseman they signed, so really not much fantasy interest here. Just kind of keep an eye on Jordan Lawler. Not the best thing in the world to see him sitting so quickly, but against the righty as well. Lawler's a right-handed hitter. I imagine he's going to be in there every time against lefties, and most of the time they're going to give him a look, right? But 7 plate appearances so far, hasn't done anything, whatever. It's 7 plate appearances, but a high strikeout rate to start. Just not a ton to like on the Diamondbacks. The guys you like are like super owned. So Lawler's the only one, and maybe Moreno as like a second catcher. Kind of interesting. Keep an eye on the playing time and the performances there. Colorado went to, like we already mentioned, they went and played the Marlins. And it wasn't terrible. So the lineup, it was 3 righties. They went McCarthy. Did he lead off every time? Yes. Jake McCarthy led off all 3 games. Hunter Goodman hit 2nd. Willie Castro hit 3rd. Tovar hit 4th. Rumfield hit 5th. Beck, Doyle, Sullivan, Karros were their bottom 4 in yesterday's game. Brenton Doyle hit 7th, and 7th. So that's, he seems to be the 7 hitter. So not great. Let's look at this TJ Rumfield guy real quick, because he was just kind of a surprise to have made the team, but I think he has good minor league numbers. I'll pull that up. Last year, TJ Rumfield was it all in AAA? Mostly in AAA last year. Pardon the timing here. 587 plate appearances. Yes, all in AAA. 285 average, 447 slugs, 16 homers, 5 steals. So if you did that in the majors, he would be fringy, worthwhile. I mean, 16.5 and 285 would be good, but this is the PCL against AAA pitching. So, good K and walk stuff, but doesn't look to be much of anything. But if you're in a crazy deep league and you want a warm body that's hitting in the middle of a lineup and, you like him for the home starts, TJ Rumfield at just, it's got to be what, single digit ownership, right? Rumfield's at not registering because he has these dots in his name. I got to fix that. So I don't know what his ownership is, but it can't be very high. Every year, these new players show up and they're TJ or CJ or AJ, and some sites put the dots in and some don't, and that breaks a lot of things, but it's a work in progress. So Colorado, as always, we're just going to skip over the pitching, except for to make fun of them for the dumb decision to not put Chase Dollander in the rotation. It's just very dumb. I don't understand at all. I'll never get it. San Diego Padres, Michael King was good. Was he good? I think he was good, right? San Diego. And it was Randy Vasquez was really good with the increased velocity. We talked about him in the daily notes, like deep league guy to look at, 1% owned. A lot more velo this year. 2.67 JA ERA in that start. So I don't know. Check the boxes you want him to check in all of 91 pitches. But it's always interesting when someone adds like 2 or 3 miles an hour of velo. Pivetta, King, Vasquez were the top 3, and that's the end of the good pitchers. If not, if you can even consider Vasquez, like it's an ugly pitching staff. So you know what to do with King. It's pretty much start him every time. You know what to do with Pivetta, and we'll figure out. We'll give Randy Vasquez like 2 or 3 more starts before I'm actually recommending picking him up. But as a streamer, it's probably interesting enough in a deeper league, like talking about 15 teamers or something like that. The lineups for the Padres, they've faced 2 tough lefties, Skubal and Valdez, and then a righty and Flaherty. Against the righty on Saturday, another team that was off on Sunday, it was Cronenworth, Tatis, Machado, Merrill, Bogart, Sheets, Laureano, Castellanos, and Fermin. Against the lefties, it was Tatis, Bogarts, Machado, Merrill, and Duhart, Laureano, France, Cronenworth, Campuzano. So, and Duhart going to play against lefties, I suppose. That makes sense. Good hitter against lefties. Not much power, but hits for high batting average against lefties, so they're going to want him in there. Gavin Sheets, probably a platoon guy. Haven't seen a ton of Nick Castellanos. Looks like it took him till game 3 to get a start. Don't think anybody really owns or cares about Nick Castellanos, and you probably shouldn't, but it kind of brings down Gavin Sheets because he'll probably take a couple starts from him at first. And, you know, Sheets was interesting as a 15-teamer guy, but no real upside. So it looks like, you know, Tatis, Machado, Merrill, Bogarts are the guys to think about in 12-teamers. I don't even know if you really need to have Bogarts in a 12-team or like a 10, 12-teamer, but probably. Anybody standing out? Anything crazy? It's 3 games. We can't really react to this stuff. Xander Bogaerts hasn't struck out yet in 12 plate appearances. Good for him. Ramon Laureano has been the best hitter so far with a home run, the only home run they've hit. I have Jackson Merrill on my main team, so I'm going to look at him. No homers, 25% K rate. Hasn't done anything yet. But, you know, tough schedule for them to start up against Valdez, up against Skubal, and up against Flaherty. That's about as tough as any team has had it so far. The Giants hosted the Yankees, as you know. They faced Fried, Schlittler, and Warren. Against the righties, they went with different lineups. On Friday, they went against the righty. They went Arise, Chapman, Devers, Adames, Lee, Ramos, Schmidt, Bailey, Harrison Bader. Then on Saturday, against another righty, they put Jung-Hoo Lee first, moving Arise to third. Matt Chapman hit second. Devers cleaned up. Ramos, Adames, Bader, Bailey, Schmidt. So Adames down to 6th against Will Warren. Again, Will Warren's really good against righties. Maybe that just had something to do with it. They wanted 3 of 4 lefties up at the top. Against the lefty on opening night, Arise, Chapman, Devers, Adames, Lee, Ramos, Schmidt, Bailey, Bader. Not a good team for fantasy purposes. Not really anybody I can see that's saying like they're available and you should pick them up. You know, Devers, Chapman, Adames are going to be owned, and they're going to pretty much do what they're going to do. Arise as well. So, yeah, not really much actionable on the San Francisco side. Just a really tough place to hit, as we kind of saw. We saw them struggle. We saw all of the Yankees pitchers have pretty good success rates in that first series against the Giants in that big ballpark. Robbie Ray, Logan Webb, Tyler Mahle. Let's look at Robbie Ray and Tyler Mahle because Robbie Ray's he's someone that's widely owned. Just had my doubts about him, but maybe I was wrong. 93.9 on the fastball, so that's okay. 102 stuff plus. 6.5% swing strike rate. It didn't work well, but good to see the mid-90s velo. That's about where Ray's always been, so no problems there. Slider was good. But yeah, it's 92% usage between four seamers and sliders. So I don't know. I guess Ray's just the guy. He always has been. Nothing really new there, and he'll probably have some really good outings and overall probably a decent season, especially just taking advantage of that ballpark. Tyler Mahle averaged 92.2 on his four seamer. It's never been a great fastball, never had velo, but he's always been able to locate it well enough to set up the splitter. When he's been healthy, that's been the main problem for him, and he did that. Tyler Mahle did in his first start, 56% strike rate with the four-seamer, 39 pitches. Again, like all the small sample qualifiers in the world apply here. Splitter at 40% usage was not very good, 9.4% swing and strike rate. So he got through it. He had a decent start. Had, 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. So he's like a 12-team streamer. He's probably a 15-team guy you want to have, only 9% owned. He's probably not going to hurt you very bad in his home starts. So Mahle's an interesting guy to look at. And that's it. That's 55 minutes of talking teams, National League. We'll be back hopefully later this week to do the American League. Leave some comments on stuff if you have an idea of things I should cover during the podcast this week or every week. I'm going to try my best to do at least 2 podcasts by myself every week to keep this going. But go to MLBDataWarehouse.com and subscribe for everything going on here, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.
Big Data Warehouse. Yeah, we bring the spree. Prospects, DFS, betting strategy. John's grumpy, Tim scouting like a man possessed. Doc drafting comeback stories better than the rest. But the tools are elite and the content's free. And your fantasy trophy gonna look prestigious. ML.